Welcome to the Afterthoughts podcast, where we share our thoughts after stuff. Doug, Ryan.
Hey there, E.
Great to be with me. Natural start there.
The honor is all yours, man.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
And
You're
also
welcome.
with me.
Also with E.
Today's a big day. Episode 7.
Whoa. Nobody thought. Nope.
No one thought that, but Jacob said that was important. Jacob, why is it important to get to episode 7?
Yes. So in the podcast like industry type thing, they say if you can get past 7, you're good.
very low bar.
Most podcasts die at like 7.
Really?
Don't go past that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we made it to episode 7.
Number 7 is the number of completion in the Bible, so that might be
Wow.
it. Maybe
Also,
we're all
John
done.
Elway's
7
number?
just seems so low.
John Elway was number
To be
7.
the threshold.
Yeah, dude.
You set out to make a podcast and you can't make
You
it.
set everything up, get it all ready. Like, you know what? We got 4 episodes in.
So much thought goes into it. Well, we got to 5, so let's just call it there.
The number of completion.
That's it.
That's powerful.
Powerful stuff. So we've made it.
Congratulations, guys.
This
Jacob,
is
that, if I understand correctly, that means we've gone viral.
Yeah. Viral. We're
Awesome.
thriving.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
That's not what viral means.
We also today on episode 7, Kayla is out of town. She'll be getting married.
Kayla.
Kayla's
This
not with
week.
us anymore today.
She's in Colorado.
Yes.
Gonna get married
Congratulations, Kayla.
in her stead.
I'm doing that wedding in 3 days' time.
Okay,
Wow.
Doug. You don't have to show off. Jeez. Mr. Wedding Officiant.
Yep.
This week.
That's
Right?
what I'm
Pretty
known
high
as.
on that.
That's what I'm
Pretty
known
proud of
for.
himself.
Yep.
In Kayla's place, we have Emily.
Welcome
Hello.
back, Emily.
Thank you guys for having me back. I'll only be answering to Kayla today.
Okay, Kayla, thanks for being on our last episode, by the way. It was a great conversation.
Great combo.
Nice. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you back. Let me check in first on this before we get to questions with Kayla. I had you guys do NFL predictions.
Yeah.
Some of those we won't know for another 16 weeks.
Sure.
Some of them we already know because they were week 1 predictions. Starting with the Thursday night game, which was the Lions against the Chiefs.
Oh, we all picked the Chiefs.
Wow.
You guys picked the Chiefs, but Emily picked the
Emily
Lions.
picked the Lions. There's
She just laughs. Good job, Emily.
There's a principle
That's
here. And
Kayla,
I know you
sorry.
won't be offended by this. I think the less you know about sports, the better you are at predicting outcome.
What are you trying to
of
say?
Sports. That seems to be every March.
Yeah.
Who wins March Madness?
What are you saying, that Emily knows less about football than Ethan?
Yes.
That's
that
what
what
I'm
you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like,
Make a definitive statement, Ryan.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
the amount of knowledge difference between Emily and I when it comes to football is a glass of water in the ocean.
Yeah.
But she predicted correctly. What led you to pick the Lions there?
I think, if I'm honest, God probably just talks to me more than you three.
Probably true because you
Lion.
spend more time praying and less
Yeah.
time obsessing over sports.
Yeah, I think it's because I
That's a
literally
good point.
just do not care. I have couldn't care less. So I have no bias. Therefore, I walk in more freedom. So thank you. Happy to be here. Happy to do it.
Congrats, Emily.
Well, it must be nice to not care when we talk about the next game where you all predicted the Broncos would win and they
Oh boy,
just
I'm doing terribly.
somehow let the Raiders win in Denver with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback, which is
If you were to tell me that the Broncos and the Chiefs would have the same record,
Yeah,
I would not have guessed they would both be 0-1
yeah.
after the first
kind of a glass half full way to look
Yeah.
at it. They're doing just as well as the Chiefs. Stop.
That was a tough. Speaking of tough, then you guys predicted the Monday night game.
Okay.
Oh boy.
That was rough.
So you and Emily, Doug, you guys, or Kayla, sorry, predicted the Bills would win.
Yes.
Which it looked like they would,
Yes.
but the Jets came back and Ryan was right on a punt return in overtime, which was
Wild.
unreal. It was pretty awesome ending to the game, but the beginning of that game was
Emotional
brutal
roller
because Aaron
coaster.
Rodgers tore his Achilles, we think, and
That's
That
bad.
was tough, man.
Yeah.
3-4 plays.
It's heartbreaking if you're a Jets fan
I can't imagine.
because you think you're about to have a Broncos Peyton Manning story where he's got 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
We've got a veteran quarterback. We can get a Super Bowl out of this. And then on the 4th play to tear your Achilles.
That's crazy.
After such an epic, I mean, it was
They built everything
September
around him
11th.
being
He
there.
runs out of the cave with the American flag.
Yeah.
The stadium, there's like a roar. Everybody's losing it. It's a new season.
Brutal.
And then the very first series.
I can tell you've been
I'm not
listening
even-
to Out of the Cave by Need to Breathe.
Oh, great
I
song.
have, man.
Great song.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
Noticing that when it comes to sports, I'm still a Broncos fan, of course. Care more about greatness and watching greatness happen.
That's why you're on this podcast.
Yeah. That's why I love hanging out with Doug and Ethan than anything else. And so it's a shot to Jets fans, but it's also a shot for the entire NFL. I feel.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and all of
It's
sports.
just a bummer.
You hate to see one of the greatest quarterbacks go down.
You hate to see it.
Is it too late to change our name to Great Thoughts?
Great thoughts.
No. Well, after the 7th episode will be completed, so
Okay.
next week.
Emily,
Because-
Kayla, was it helpful last week when you learned that Ryan was not the most important preacher in your life, but that Doug was the most important preacher in your life? Has that helped you since we last spoke?
I just realized in this moment that they're two different people.
Emily's good at this.
Yep.
Kayla's great. She's roasting you guys.
Uh-huh. Job, Kayla.
Well, this is great thoughts.
Let's talk about on the other side of sports, because that is sad. The greatest thing that's happening in the sports world.
Oh man.
The Colorado Buffaloes.
Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah, get that on the table.
Come on.
There we go.
Here
Gosh.
they are. Some of my favorite hats.
Remember the scene in the beginning of Titanic with the old lady right before she's about to tell her story, where she goes, "It's been 84 years."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
That's
how
how
it
we
feels.
feel right now.
For context,
Yeah.
we were all roommates in college.
We went to the
together
University of Colorado.
15 years ago, 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been 2 decades of really bad
Just
football and pain and let down. But not anymore, guys.
Deion
it's a
Sanders.
new day.
The miracle we prayed for. Coach Prime.
One of the greatest stories of all time.
I just can't get over it. I'm just enjoying it.
Yep.
It's great. I mean, the amount of nights we've just been in your living room watching the Buffs just get destroyed
Just tears.
by everyone. It's been
defeated.
crazy.
Now we're number 18. College game day is going to be in Boulder this weekend, playing the CSU Rams,
Can you imagine?
which they're going to destroy.
Yeah, if you're a
them.
CSU Ram right now,
You're just running for the hills. Gosh, it's awesome. Emily, any thoughts on the Buffs?
Oh,
You did
man.
pick them along with these guys to win the national championship, which sounded crazy, but it's sounding less crazy at this point.
we picked him what for next year, right?
Well, then I asked you guys about this year. Everybody just rolled with the Buffs.
Yeah.
So why
But we've
not?
been doing that for decades now.
You-
We just
yeah,
always
you
pick the
always
Buffs.
Oh,
got-
people have always called me crazy.
What do you think about the Buffs?
I think I have 2 pictures of Buffalo in my bathroom, so I think that makes me an honorary Buff.
Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
welcome.
Absolutely. And Buffaloes do what
We're glad to have you.
when a storm approaches, Doug?
Buffaloes charge the storm.
That's right.
Amen.
the only herd animal to not run from the storm. They
That's
charge
right.
it. Yes. Proud to be a
Run from
Buffalo.
it, run straight through it. You're gonna face the storm either way. You might as well face it head on.
Yeah. And that's what
Run
we're
through
doing
it.
now.
That's what we do.
And everyone I talk to is like, you know what? I don't have any ties, but I'm rooting for the Buffs.
It's crazy.
Hard not to.
Everybody's team.
I've never heard anybody on like ESPN, FS1 ever talk about the Buffs.
Yeah.
And now it's all
That's
anyone
your
will
point.
ever talk about.
Oh, everybody's
You know what's
so
really cool?
obsessed with us, guys. The Buffs.
These guys.
Wow.
What I love about this whole story too is Deion Sanders, what really he said sold him on becoming the coach, moving to Boulder, was Rick George, our athletic director. Mm-hmm. And that he was the guy who came to him and was like, I don't need you to change how you do things or who you are.
Yeah.
You be you. Coach the way you coach.
right.
Even his faith.
Yeah.
Express it. Like, no one's talking about that in the media.
Right.
But Coach Prime
but
preaches
Deion
in
talks about it
every,
all the time,
every
man.
press
All the
conference.
time. Yeah.
He's praying for guys on the sideline. And to have an athletic
so
director
great.
from, a public university like CU just say, hey, you do things your way
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
And he's going for it.
Yeah, he is.
I love this guy.
We, not to over spiritualize it, but Boulder was a place that all 3 of us went to trying to figure out what we believed about and trying to figure out faith.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was agnostic or atheist or a Buddhist or a Christian when I showed up in Boulder.
Yeah.
And Boulder was the place where God did a crazy work in all 3 of our lives. And it just feels like that's always been something we've always prayed for, is that Boulder would be a place where lives would be changed. And it's happening again in a whole new way. And it just shows you how much how important leadership is and how important culture is.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot
Yeah.
here at church of trying to protect our culture. And you see that play out. You bring a guy in to see you and it changes the entire culture. And
Changes
then all of a
the
sudden
city.
they go from being the worst, potentially the worst team in college football
worst.
to what they're doing now.
top.
It's cool.
It's
Amazing.
awesome. What do you think the top thing you can learn from Dion right now about how to create culture is?
Well, he said he doesn't care about culture. He said he cares about players, getting good players.
Right.
I think that what
But that-
the
but
reality
that is-
That's culture. That's
Yeah.
his
well,
culture.
he doesn't create culture. He is culture.
Right.
So he just leads the way he does, and people just
Yeah.
follow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is unashamed about it.
Yeah.
I
And
like
he's got a
that.
big gravitational pull.
Right.
Scott Brugman, he
Yeah.
said leadership is if people want to be where you are and do what you're doing, then you're a leader.
Yeah, that's right.
And he is the ultimate picture of that right now in sports. Every high school kid's like, I want to be in Boulder.
Yep.
I wish I was back in college.
I might
Oh,
go
dude.
play. I still have 4 years of eligibility. I'm considering
Yeah.
trying out.
My answer is people. the way that he cares about people. And I'm
Yeah.
pulling for you, man, because you were a great intramural.
Thanks.
You
Yeah,
played, I
I
think,
could-
4
I can
years of
run it out.
intramural football. Is that?
We did win a championship. I can run an out and up like nobody's
dude.
business.
You're great at
Especially
it.
after you run an out the play before.
Especially like,
So they think
oh
you're
yeah,
gonna run it out
oh
again,
yeah.
and
Let's
they
just throw
bite
that
on
out.
that.
Oh, we'll just take
Oldest
those
trick
7
in the
yards.
book.
Whoop, double move.
Yeah, caring about people,
I'm
putting
sure-
people over
yeah.
everything. That's what he's teaching us. That's what he's teaching me. I think it's awesome.
I'm sure 14 years later I'll be just as good. that's a sad thought.
You could go back for grad school, go get your law degree.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Wolf
about
law.
that. I've always thought I should do that.
14 years later, seriously?
I mean, I'm 34. We probably won that championship when I was 20. So
Yeah.
let that sink in. 2 touchdowns later. here
Haven't
we are.
won
But we have
anything
we're on episode 7 of a podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go to questions with Kayla.
Jacob told us that we made it now. It's complete.
That's right.
I totally forgot we were on a podcast for a second.
Yeah, dude, we were just
Talking about college.
talking about intramural championships that don't matter at all. We did get a shirt for it.
And we all signed it and hung it up in our house for the whole time we lived there. Kayla, give us some questions.
All right, Kayla here. If you guys could be any Avenger, who would you be and why?
Any Avenger. And Coach Prime is the new Avenger, but you can't answer him. We already talked
Is
it
the
out.
question which Avenger we resonate with more, or who we would just want to be?
To
if we
repeat
could
the
pick anyone?
question, the question was if you can be any Avenger,
So if,
who would
yeah,
you
yeah,
be?
yeah, yeah.
Kayla's
Why?
got,
You decide that, Ryan.
I feel like Kayla's
Yeah.
gotten a little bit
Yeah.
sassier.
A little bit. Yeah, yeah.
First they're sweet, then they're sour.
Okay, Ryan.
I feel like Thor is just the coolest. Nope, I changed my mind.
Nice.
Iron Man. I think
Nice.
Tony Stark is awesome, and
Yeah.
he can fly, but he's also really smart and strategic and a good leader. Although some would question that and I don't know.
Well, he's sacrificial in the end, which is the best kind of servant.
In the
leader,
end,
right?
he wins.
Spoiler.
Sorry if we just spoiled
came
Infinity
out
Games
so
for you.
long ago.
I'm going Iron Man.
Remember at my roast when I turned 30 that Corey just ruined that movie? It had just come out.
Before you saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I
Like
just want to
days
tell
before
you
you
guys
saw it.
Happy birthday, Ethan.
that Iron Man and Black Widow, is it Black Widow? They both died.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna.
So
I thought
distraught.
you were gonna say Thanos, but I think Iron Man's probably my answer too. Although I think Black Panther's the coolest Avenger.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure.
Doug,
Oh, man. That's a really hard question for me to answer, you guys.
well, you're gonna have to, and we have a clock going. So just
Cap.
Yeah.
Captain America. Yep.
Why?
Because I would say he's not even the most talented, most powerful. He can't fly. He can't.
Yeah.
he takes steroids and then gets really big.
Yeah,
something like
some
that.
kind of serum. I think it's Athletic Greens.
Our sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Athletic Greens.
But he surrounds himself with people who are
Yeah.
stronger, more talented, and better superheroes than him, and he leads all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a lot like you, for sure. In a lot of ways.
Yeah. Not talented.
I've
Before
been told
the-
that, but it was exactly in that sense of you
But-
surround yourself with people like
Oh, yeah.
with saying it without saying it, who are just way better at stuff than you are.
That's why you're on this
Seems like a
podcast.
backhanded compliment. I don't know.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah, Captain America before the serum, for sure. Thanos and Iron Man. Okay.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Do you have
Steve
another
Rogers.
question, Kayla?
All right, yes, I have another
Oh,
question.
Kayla, what about you? What Avenger would
Yeah,
you be?
Kayla.
Listen, I love Spider-Man.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't ask for what he got, but he's responsible for it now that he knows he has
Wow.
it.
great power.
I resonate with that.
Spider-Man.
He's kind of like the junior Avenger,
Yeah.
right?
The one
Yeah,
who asks questions
basically.
like off camera.
Nice.
kind of a thing.
All I
Okay.
know about Spider-Man
Caleb?
right now is Spidey and his amazing friends.
Yeah,
That's it.
Spidey,
So,
Spin, and Ghost Spider.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I
And
choose-
Fallout Boy did the music. Or
Sure did.
what's his name? The-
I just call him Fallout Boy.
That's his name. Okay, Kayla.
When
All
people
right.
see that guy in the street, they just go, "Hey, Fallout
Hey, it's
Boy."
Fallout Boy. All right, Kayla, come on.
All right, next question.
Stop distracting us.
Next question. What's an embarrassing preaching moment or story?
I've got several. I can start. Second sermon I ever gave, the first one in Boulder when I was the intern at our college ministry that we always talk about. It went great, and I was riding that high all the way to Haiti when the three of us show up, and the host family tells us, okay, it's Friday night, tomorrow morning, Saturday, we're going to have a little conference. I'm going to call it a conference because that sounds better than it's actually just like a VBS probably.
At least just like get the kids in a circle and talk.
It was not a conference, but let's call
Yeah,
it
so I
that.
got this big conference the next day.
If you're picturing a conference right now, don't picture that. Picture just people standing on a dirt floor.
Picturing like a duck, duck, goose circle.
Yeah. So it's a conference, and
You were the keynote speaker at this conference.
they go, "Hey, we need someone to preach," and I go, "Guys, I got this. My first sermon, I just crushed. I knocked it out of the park. I can do this." And I have so much confidence that I don't prepare anything, which is an important
It's a good
detail
way to do
for
that.
what's coming next. And I go to sleep thinking, no, the Holy Spirit's going to speak through me. There's that whole verse. Don't worry about what you're going to say.
Yeah,
The Holy Spirit
same
will give you the
context
words,
as
which I
when
think
you-
is when you're under like sitting on court under
In front
trial.
of the Sanhedrin. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This was similar.
Yeah. At this conference that I showed up to. And so I
Just
show
as
up.
much hangs in the balance here.
And I remember that morning thinking, I wonder what the Holy Spirit's going to give me to say when I finally get there. And I walk up on stage, and all these people get saved. And I walk up on stage, and nothing comes for the first 5 seconds, and then 10 seconds goes by. I literally, like, let's do a moment of, let's do 12 seconds of silence just so our listeners can feel how awkward this is. So I walk up, they announce me, and it sounds like this. "12 seconds of silence."
And then you said, "You guys
You
good?
guys good?
Are you me and Doug?" We're like, "What?
I just
over here.
I see you guys in the back.
We're not doing any. What do you mean? Are we good?"
You're not good,
wanting you guys to
but
be
we're
back
fine.
so bad.
Actually, we're not fine.
I'm uncomfortable now. I'm not good. Thank you for that.
You guys
I
good?
I
was.
wish I could trade places with you right now. 'Cause
I would
I'm
rather-
more
I'd
uncomfortable
say anything.
because I'm powerless over here. Yeah.
So yes, it was
a
devastating. I don't even remember where I went from there. I think I
don't think
started
anybody
talking
does,
about-
and I don't think it matters.
doesn't matter.
The
The moral of the
conference
story
got,
is
the conference got better from there.
Yeah, the conference really turned around. Moral of the story is make sure you prepare for things before you preach. That's my
Very
answer.
embarrassing. Do you have any?
I have a few times where I've just burped while,
Yeah.
even while reading scripture.
Oh yeah,
Because I usually,
dude.
like if I have a carbonated energy drink beforehand,
I can't-
there's so many
yeah,
times
yeah,
where
man.
you'll see me mid sermon, like I'll make a point and then I'll sort of stop and pause.
So
And,
spiritual.
and it seems, make it just silent. But I'm really suppressing a burp
Yeah.
and waiting for it to silently.
We
come
both have
out.
that, man.
Wow.
Oh, it's
Yep.
the worst, man.
What about you?
I can't burp. So not
Sorry,
that.
man.
You
I
can
have
cough
one-
though.
Yeah, I can't stop.
Just can't stop coughing.
I have one more for Doug. I'll use my turn to say Doug.
Makes us so
The
generous.
first time Doug preached at Young Adults in Denver, he used a word that is not like a biggest cuss word, but you shouldn't say it in a sermon. In his sermon a few times,
Yeah, I can tell
describing
that.
a guy from Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, the scene in Good Will Hunting, the Harvard boss scene, where the guy from Harvard.
That's right.
I'm describing the guy from Harvard, who is kind of a tool.
Yep.
As a, what did I say? I said this
Whitey.
tidy whitey wearing Harvard.
Blank. And then
And-
he texted me after. He's like, "Hey, is this a bad word?" And it's like, Well, I'm guessing you just said it on stage, and you shouldn't probably say that. But
I got a little talking
all
to
good.
after that. Not fired, but just, hey, that is a bad word. You
Right.
should know that stuff.
Right.
Should be
If
aware.
you're going to be a public speaker.
Great point, though. You were calling him the Pharisee, right?
Yeah,
And Matt Damon was Jesus in the analogy.
basically. And
Yeah.
schooled him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have used that at the conference that Ryan spoke at in Haiti
Yeah.
as well.
Man.
Yep. This tidy-whitey wearing Harvard guy.
Yeah, there's many more embarrassing stories to be had.
You didn't tell one of yours.
I've accidentally put like two words together a few times and said a pretty awful word. A few of them.
A lot of sermon prep these days is there's so many landmines you can step on. I feel like you're public speaking and it's just culture sets out about 1,000 landmines and you have to dance around them while you're trying to
Yeah.
communicate
Yeah,
the
dude.
gospel.
Yeah.
When we would call each other back in the day to talk about sermon content, we used to talk about content.
Yeah.
Now we go, hey, is this offensive?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this the wrong thing to say?
Can I say that? Nope, can't say that. You got to come up with a new way of saying that.
I'll
Just last
tell
hours,
one
yeah.
quick embarrassing one. I was on a mission trip with our buddy Sam's youth group, and in that time, for some reason, I don't know, it was probably just the guys I was listening to their sermons, but was like really important that everyone knows that all dogs don't go to heaven, as if that's necessarily true or not.
Maybe
And
they
I
do,
felt
I
like
don't
I
know.
needed to make that point of
Yeah.
like, you guys are more worried about the dogs in this country than the people or something, and it was just didn't land, and it was so stupid and dogmatic.
Dogmatic.
But I got him.
You was dogmatic.
Dogmatic.
You were
yeah.
so dogmatic. One of the very first pastoral texts I ever got was from a guy that said, hey, do dogs go to heaven? And I said, no. I don't know why. I don't know why.
If you're in here and you
We
want to
don't-
be in ministry, just say yes to that.
Yeah,
It doesn't cost you
Who knows?
anything. It
and
doesn't
realize
matter.
that like,
Newer-
that guy was
there's gotta
going
be
through
dogs.
something
Yeah, he
like
probably
hard.
just lost his dog.
And my mentality was, well, we don't have the verse for it, and so say no, but flip that.
Yeah.
We don't have the verse for it, so probably it sure seems
Like Jesus,
like
well, Jesus didn't die for the dogs. Like, well, he doesn't hate them.
sure seems like animals are
Yeah,
important.
people are more important than dogs. We know.
There's no dogs in
Gosh.
heaven. Oh yeah, have you been there?
yeah, dude.
You're so certain about that. That you'd answer no to that question.
Why would there not be animals
Yeah.
on New Earth?
And that
Yeah,
that probably shouldn't be a huge theological thing to get worried
No.
about, or
Don't-
to die on that hill.
Don't get dogmatic and die in those types of hills.
Dogmatic. Man, I hope
Wow.
you burp soon in a sermon. I
Yeah.
really.
We should do a sermon
really like
series
that.
called Dogmatic.
I burped under my breath this past Sunday. There's nobody.
Which
I'm really,
service?
I'm,
Your
I'm really good at it,
authenticity,
man.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Thanks to save place.
All right. Well, now that we're 6 minutes in, let's get into
Oh, perfect.
Alive and Free.
Yeah, we don't want to waste anybody's time.
Yeah.
So let's.
Alive and Free.
Phenomenal sermon, Doug.
New conversations
Thanks, guys.
coming for a while this fall.
Yeah.
With this whole concept of being alive and free. Doug,
Yeah.
explain it. Give us some verbiage for the heart behind this.
Alive and free, and the tagline is killing the things that are killing you, which sounds intense, and it is. However, we just got that language from Jesus. That's all based around a very well-known, famous verse, John 10:10. However, the second half is way better known than the first half. But all of it, you need all that information in order to live alive and free. In the first half, Jesus says, the thief, in other words, the very real enemy of your soul, is here to steal and kill and destroy.
Yep.
However, Jesus says, why are you laughing at that? That's not,
That
that's
part-
like, you're like, amen, amen. Wrong place to amen.
Dude, we used to have a running joke that I would just get John 10:10a.
That was Ryan's
like a
life verse.
sign behind my desk that just says the thief comes to steal, kill,
Just to
and
make a
destroy."
point, yeah, there's a very real enemy. He's here to steal. We don't have enough sermons about that,
Yeah.
and all dogs don't go to heaven.
Yeah, we need to be focused on him.
Yeah, I was a pretty cool guy. Keep
Yep.
going. Sorry for interrupting.
That
half of
doesn't happen to anybody.
Half of that verse always gets
who
Ryan.
goes into ministry.
The thief comes to steal, kill, and
Steal,
destroy.
kill, and destroy.
but
But I have come that they might have life and have it to the full.
Right.
Sean made a joke last week. He said, we read that so casually.
Yeah.
Oh, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I've come that you might have life and have it to the full.
Yeah.
And it's elevator music, sadly, because that is basically a declaration and a promise that living alive and free on new levels is possible for you. But it takes an awareness. There are things trying to kill you.
Yep.
And so kill them before they kill you.
Good.
Let's step into new levels of living free. Freedom ain't for the faint of heart. It's not like, oh, I read one book about it and I listened to one series and I walked out of church and now I'm alive and free.
Right.
This is an invitation to constantly have a fighter spirit and fight for more of every single day.
Yeah.
And step into more of the abundant life that is rightfully yours in the new covenant package that's available by the blood of Jesus. And when I say new covenant package, we've described it this way before. It's kind of like when you get a phone, this can do about 1 million things. And so here's a phone package, and all you use it for is just to call people and make phone calls. In the same way, your new covenant package.
That's what only this phone. can
there
do.
you go.
Yeah.
It's the difference
Perfect.
between
Now I get why we have a phone on our
and I think
table.
sometimes
It always comes in handy.
it's just to make that point.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think of salvation, and we think of
Sorry.
No, we're good.
yeah,
You're
well,
doing
we're
great.
good. I'm gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
we think of salvation.
He's still laughing about the
Yep.
thief coming to steal, kill, and destroy. Just gets him.
Just imagine having that sign. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Just to
Doing
make a
great,
point.
Doug.
We think of salvation, and we only think heaven forever after I die. And yes, that's true, but it's that plus 1,000 other apps that are helpful and useful for this life.
Yeah.
The abundant life here and now. So it's
Yeah.
not just then and there, it's right here and right now.
So good, man.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about different things that are killing us.
Yeah.
And how to go after and attack those things.
Yeah. Because I said this also, grace, since you're a child of God, grace can kind of be like a mama bear at times, violent when it comes face to face with the things that are killing its kids.
Yeah.
So when we talk about addiction, when we talk about fear, when we talk about comparison and isolation and insecurity and anxiety and depression, that grace can turn into a weapon. That's not just like a cute, warm blanket kind of word. It is a warm blanket, but it's also violent when it comes face to face with the things that are robbing from us life and life to the full.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talked about drug of choice. You said it was really more about pain than addiction. But talking about the addictions or the vices, the drugs of choice that we all have in our lives. And I would say probably the most personally authentic sermon I've ever heard a pastor give.
Yeah.
Which I've heard a lot of feedback. People were just like coming to tell me like that was so great. I'm like, I'll tell Doug. Like I didn't, I was just sitting there. But
that's cool.
I think you telling some of your story and being that real about it was so powerful for people. And saying, like we say a lot, we're not pastors who wear capes. And I think of so many pastors, and it's heartbreaking, that have had secret issues, had great falls, had things happen. And I think a lot of that is because they didn't feel like they could be honest about it with anyone, let alone from a pulpit. So I commend you for just going for it. I think that's how you stay healthy and bring things into the light, and then invite everybody else. Because if the pastor says it on a stage, then everyone sitting there is like, okay, well then I'm not an outlaw. I'm not the exception to this grace that is a warm blanket and is violently loving me enough to come after these things in my life. Was there more of your story or more of how you feel now on the other side of, 6 months now that you've said, hey, I'm not taking any painkillers for my pain? Anything else that you wanted to share or more that you want to shed light on in your own personal story?
Oh, yeah. I could talk about this for hours. It was cool to call the message drug of choice, because what everybody thinks right away is this is going to be, hey, what's your drug of choice? And how about you kind of knock it off because it's stealing something from you. So let's see some less addiction. Let's see some more fighting out of you. And to flip it and give a little bit of twist to the sermon a quarter of the way through and say, this is not about what is your drug of choice. The question that God is giving you is, what is your drug of choice hiding from you? Because this is way more a message about a loving God who wants to heal the pain that you're carrying that's causing you to medicate in the first place.
Good.
I realized right before the first service I preached, a lot of times we'll preach messages that feel heavy, and it clicked for me. I'm like, I want to explain what's happening when you feel heavy mid-message. It's not because the message itself is weighty. There's actually a verse in Matthew 11 where Jesus says, I'm not putting anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Yeah. I actually want to lift that off of you. I actually want to heal that within you. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. I want to show you the unforced rhythms of grace and teach you how to take a real rest. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. So when you feel something heavy, what's happening is there's finally a light. The message is causing a light to shine on the thing that you've been suppressing and ignoring and pretending is not there or medicating. And so that heaviness that you feel, that's been in you. You walked in this room with that. You've just been numbing it. And now it's being exposed, and you're feeling it. And it's not comfortable to feel it. But that's what God wants to heal. And the heavier it is, the lighter you're going to feel on the other side of the healing that God wants to do. But it's not until you choose to feel it and go there with God that he can begin to heal it.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I had that moment at the 4 p.m. Watching when we get like 12 minutes into the sermon. I'm feeling that heaviness for the whole room, but also for myself.
Yeah.
And I remember just so brilliantly you flip that. And it's like realizing that the diagnosis is actually good news, because now you know what to do.
Right.
And now you know what to fight, and you have an action plan.
Right.
And so I personally had that moment where it was like, okay, this is heavy, but I can stay in this and I can keep going. And so to the one watching this who turned Doug's sermon off after 12 minutes, go back through, man, get to the end, because it actually is really good.
There was like right before I said that, in a few different services, people walked out.
Wow.
And I knew it's not because they disagreed.
Yeah.
It was because they felt something was just like illuminated. And what I wanted to be like, oh, can you just like stay in here?
Stay.
Then maybe they just had to go to the bathroom.
Room.
We'll just assume.
Maybe that. But stay in here. Feel this just for a moment. Yeah. Because on the other side of this, I'm telling you, is more freedom than you ever thought would be possible.
Talk about that in your life right now. Because you obviously, I'm sure there's days where you're like, have a migraine, in pain.
Yeah.
And that's got to be hard. But what are some of the freedoms you're finding as you're saying goodbye to something that became a vice in a way?
Yeah. I mean, because it was years and years and years, of a similar pattern. And first of all, it just takes some time for your body and your brain to rewire itself and learn how to function at a high capacity. I feel like for the last 6 months, and you guys have been so gracious towards me in helping lead this church, but I've always been a high capacity person. And just, I want to do everything. I'm going to show up and be energetic and have things to pour into you and have ideas and vision. And I just have been operating about here. And that has driven me crazy. That's been the hardest part for me. But you just give it enough time. I said this also, children of the promise, what that means is everything heals. Everything heals. Jesus' garden, Gethsemane, became a grave, so that the rest of forever, there's now a new era where graves become gardens. We're children of the promise. And if you're willing to feel it, God will heal it. Everything heals. You just have to not panic and play the long game with this. Once again, that's like what's so insidious, I guess, about addiction and even the dopamine system in your brain is we are so wired to play the short game. And, well, I have to be on this week. Like, no, your kids would rather you be on for the next 16 years if you are a little off for the next 3 months to do what you have to do to walk through a valley to the other side. You know what I mean? Yeah. Totally. Also, the beauty of leading a church as a team instead of just one guy is when I can't show up, to my full capacity, you guys do. And you find out, man, I'm a lot less important than I thought I was in the first place because there's been so much fruit in the church. The whole time I've been just sort of not showing up the way I want to show up.
Yeah.
But I think also, man, there's something in me that looks at my future now, and I go, there's no longer a lid. There used to be a lid, and I was functioning at a high, but I'm like, there's a lid that's kind of closing in a little bit more year by year by year.
Yeah.
And now that's gone and that's removed. And so while I feel, 75% capacity now, I go, but the sky's the limit for the freedom that I can walk in if I just one day at a time keep on this journey with God. Yeah.
Being willing to walk into and through the pain rather than avoid it, which I thought was so cool how you explained, talking about Jesus, that Gethsemane means place of pressure.
Yeah.
And
never knew that.
all of the pressure, like you said, the cup that Jesus was talking about was not, I'm going to go get crucified and that's going to hurt really bad.
Right.
It was so much more than that, spiritually and
yeah.
emotionally and everything, all of the darkness and sin and evil of the world.
And the reality of hell,
laid
which
on
is
him.
the absence of the presence of God.
All being laid on his shoulders.
Yes.
And yet in that place of pressure, he just said, okay, then if this is your will, then I'm going to walk through it.
Yeah.
And that also, I think
Yeah.
that's sometimes maybe sounds like an easy answer to people, but when you're in those low places, you have your God who's walked through all of it before, who will walk with you, who will carry, who will throw you over his shoulder and take you into and through those places of pressure.
Yeah.
I love that. I
It
thought
was
that
cool.
Really cool.
It was cool. Thanks, man. It was cool too to get to say all of that and be honest with everybody and then follow it up. I just felt so much confidence saying, here's why I can stand up here and be broken in front of you. None of us have ever pretended to wear a cape.
Yeah.
If you need that, you need to find a different church. But just be warned, that pastor is only pretending to wear one.
Yeah.
Because you need him to.
Yeah.
He's not really. He is broken. She is broken. But I am so confident to stand up here and just be broken in front of you. Because I know every single person, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
in a
right.
different version, to a different degree,
Wow.
you get exactly what I'm saying. And if we could just all skip the small talk
Wow.
and stop pretending, because it's one thing in the Christian world especially, and our church and Sean, our leader, he is the best in the business at this, and we freaking love him for that. But in like evangelical, the circle that we run in as a church, it's very almost helpful preaching wise to get up there and tell stories about how broken you were and how much struggles you had 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Your testimony. And the worse, the better.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The lower you were,
Yeah.
the higher God has brought you,
Yeah.
the more everybody claps for it. And it's safe to tell about struggles from way back then. But to be honest about, hey, can I talk to you about right now?
Yeah.
Can I talk to you about 6 months ago? Can I talk to you about the series we preached a year ago? How much I was hurting during that series and you didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
And I was leading you during that series and see what God did using the brokenness of even leaders who were struggling. Wow. Sean says this, a revelation he had when he went through all of his stuff a few years ago. I used to think God uses you in spite of your brokenness. It's actually better news. God uses you because
man.
of your brokenness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such
Yeah.
good news. And it's interesting that we've created, and I'm a part of this, a culture where we need somebody to have it all together.
Right.
And so the interesting question for me, with the line you had of go to a different church if that's what you need, a pastor who has it all together. The interesting question to me is, and also maybe take some time to ask yourself, why do I need somebody who has it all together? Like why is it that I need to show up every weekend and have somebody else be a picture of the thing that I can't do myself, as opposed to looking in a mirror and going, no, actually I'm a broken person too, and that's okay. Because there's grace for all of that, but the Holy Spirit lives in me, and God wants to do something in my life, so I don't need just somebody up on a stage telling me all of this stuff. I can actually hear from God myself, and I can actually have this personal relationship with God myself. And I think if we can empower more people so many of my pastoral meetings these days are just empowering people to believe that about themselves. Because I think if we can empower more Christians to believe that that's actually true, because it is, there's going to be less of this, that dichotomy that we see. I sound like Ethan coughing over here. That
So
dichotomy we
embarrassing.
see of like, we're down here and this other person is up on the stage and we need them to hear from God for us. And then I think we're going to put less pressure on the whole system. And so to me, the solution to all of this is realizing that you and me and every person listening can have a personal relationship with Jesus or the Holy Spirit, where you become a temple of the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit's working through you.
Well, I think that when you share that authentically, like you did, you go from standing on the stage and people maybe having that perception of like, okay, that guy has it all together and he struggled once back then.
Right.
And so I'm struggling right now, but then someday I'm going to have everything perfectly figured out, which is a fallacy.
Right.
But you move from the stage to I'm in the seats with you guys. And the actual guy who's on the stage who does have it all together is the guy who was in Gethsemane.
That's right.
And he's the one who took the cup.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's well
he did all this for us,
Yeah.
which is the point of church and what we talk about all the time, but we misplace that, I think, so often where, a pastor has accountability and should be sitting with his people saying, hey, if anyone's going to stand up here and take
Yeah.
a bold step of faith, I'll go first.
Right.
I'm running towards Jesus.
Right.
I'm going to do everything I
Right.
can, but it's not about me at the end of the day. It's about the guy who was in the place of pressure and said,
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you need me to do here.
Exactly.
And took care of it.
Yep.
Switching gears real quick.
Okay.
You talked about a Netflix documentary
Yeah.
called Painkiller.
Yes.
You talked just a little bit about the backstory. It was the guy who created OxyContin
Yes.
and kind of a sinister reality behind all of that.
Oh yeah.
Give me a little more about that documentary, and not even necessarily the war on drugs, but the bigger picture of pleasure and pain.
Sure.
And what you saw through that.
Yeah. So that has a few different storylines happening. And it's the story of a little over 20 years ago with Purdue Pharma, Richard Sackler, and that what I shared in the message was a monologue that he gave in a board meeting and convinced the board to go ahead and create OxyContin, the painkiller. And his whole thing is you have painkillers like morphine that everybody associates with death and hospitals, but now we're going to create a painkiller called OxyContin that everybody's going to associate with life and life to the full. And his monologue is evil, eerie, and brilliant.
Right.
When he says all of human behavior is comprised of two things: running away from pain and running towards pleasure. Away from pain towards pleasure, pain to pleasure, pain to pleasure. And if we can position ourselves in between the two, then we become the gateway for everybody away from pain and towards pleasure. And it's so spot on. And that's one of the storylines happening in that documentary series. And another one of the storylines is just a guy played by Taylor Kitsch, Tim Riggins, who just was a blue collar, owned a mechanic shop and got injured on the job site and was prescribed this. And then you start to see it's brutal to watch. I think it's like 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah.
I got through 2.5.
Yeah.
And I actually had to stop because of his story.
Yeah.
Because so much of it was hit too close to home.
Yeah.
And even patterns he had and things he would do in the beginning, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a little bit too real for me. And I know where this is going. And so I had to stop watching it. But it is, man, it's so real. Like, since that monologue, if you will, and I'm sure it's been dramatized and all of that stuff for the sake of the documentary, but the amount of even overdoses, the problems, the opioid epidemic in the last just a little bit over 2 decades, and the things that could have and should have been avoided. We have a real problem. A real problem. And I'll probably talk about this in a few weeks in a sermon. I'm trying to figure it out, maybe on distraction, but talk about our phones, because there are so many, it's like flashbacks from present day to 20 years ago. And you know how some of these, it's like quick zooms, and it makes you feel it's like disorienting a little bit and chaotic, and it speeds up. And there's sound bites from 20 years ago from, oh, OxyContin's actually safe, and as long as they're under the care of their physicians, it's perfectly fine. And and then it gets more disorienting, and faster zooms and faster clips and quicker sound bites, and then all of a sudden it's like 20 years later.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, oh, dear God.
Yeah.
And I thought of that, a documentary series being made 20 years from now about these. And I even hear like sound bites I've given from messages of like, this isn't bad, this is neutral. It's just neutral. And you know what I mean? And hey, we're all addicted to this. And then a soundbite of a congregation all giggling and laughing because we all know, but we all, and then faster sound bites and like more and more stats. And then it's disorienting. And then it's 20 years later.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, dear God, what did we just do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, I just think that that was one huge piece of what you talked about when we talk about things like phones. A sermon about drug of choice. I'm not just talking about opioids. I'm talking about all these things that we all normalize, and they can be neutral things, but they are quickly not neutral.
Yeah.
And I wrote down a couple phones and social media. You talked about success, the addiction of success.
Yeah.
And you get rewarded and applauded for that addiction.
Yep. Food can be one of those things that's totally acceptable in our culture.
Yeah.
Caffeine.
Yep.
For me, like sports and fantasy football.
Yeah.
Can go from being a fun thing to an escape. I was just talking to my wife about that the other day of like, I need to even put that in check.
Right.
Because you get dopamine hits.
Right.
Because it's easy to unplug from some reality you need to deal with and just put your brain into something that you don't have to think so much about. And I think you leveled the playing field for everybody to be like, hey, we all have something like this. And even to the point of like, some people need medication.
Right.
Absolutely.
This isn't an anti-medication sermon of you need to just get rid of anything that's helping you and you just need to only, let God work. Well, God's going to work through common graces like medicine.
Right.
But when it's reached a point like it did for you, where you were standing on the edge of saying, this is a lot more than just helping with my pain now. This is becoming dangerous to me. I think that opens up everybody in the room and all of us to just hopefully have some self-reflection of what are those things in my life that need to be put back in check.
Right.
Were there any things for you that stuck out? Anything that you go, man, that's something that I wouldn't call a full-blown addiction, but it's something that I need to check myself on?
It always, not to sound like a broken record, it always comes back to phone for me. And I think that phone, but I will say it like this, I'll say screens. Because there's some nights where I finally put my phone away and I'm feeling good, but then I just go watch Netflix for an hour. And it's like, well, it's basically the same thing.
No, that's better.
There's nights where I'll have, and I've taken a lot of steps, trying to take a lot of steps, but it's so easy to fall back into, where I'll have like a show going, like Arrested Development's going on the screen.
Love Arrested Development.
And then I have my emails up on my computer screen.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm texting somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just me in my living room, and there's 3 screens going on.
Yeah.
And I, at some level, like need that to happen just to feel okay. And so I feel just so much better and more full and more alive when I'm learning how to put limits on those things. I always talk about it, but reading way more than watching. But you know what's wild is like I'll go through 2 or 3 weeks of doing really well with that.
Yeah.
And then it's like I blink and I'm straight back into all of the
All
bad
of
habits.
it, man.
Like I've fallen not just a little bit off, like I've
Yeah.
fallen completely off the wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do I keep getting on Instagram?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
every 20 minutes to
It's like
check.
a sinister connection between what I think this all points to is we as human beings, and I'm a perfect example of this, trying to avoid pain,
Yeah.
trying to avoid some hard realities of life, trying to just numb ourselves with things like an algorithm that knows that about you and is going to just utilize that reality about you to keep you scrolling all day long. And it's things
wild.
like that I think you got to that point with, taking painkillers to help with your migraines. I feel like we get to that point with our phones, and a lot of people how long are we going to keep saying like, yeah, this isn't probably all good, and
Yeah.
keep justifying
Yeah.
Right.
the very things that are killing us slowly, that are robbing from us?
Man.
Yeah, so maybe a good challenge for everybody because I think a lot of people would still say, I'm not addicted to my phone. And I would say, all right, cool, prove it.
Good.
Put it away for 24 hours, completely put it away.
Yeah.
Or delete Instagram or TikTok for a month.
Yeah.
And watch how your body, your physical body responds. Watch when you're going to the bathroom and you pull out your phone and you try to find Instagram and then all of a sudden it's not there and you're
totally.
like, wait a sec, it usually is right
Yeah.
there. Where is
Yeah.
it? And how many times you do that throughout the week.
Yeah.
I deleted Instagram off my phone just 11 days ago.
Yeah.
I got a pretty nasty DM from
Nice.
somebody
Good.
who was just
Helpful.
Good.
just hurting and broken and needed somebody to take it out on. But then I was like, I absorbed that night. And I was like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
And so I just got it off my phone. And how many times in 11 days I have picked this up out of boredom
Yep.
when I just have 45 seconds to spare.
Yeah.
I'm in between tasks for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And I can't just be bored.
Yeah.
And I can't just be present with God.
Every stoplight.
And it's
Yeah.
crazy because we start to use all these things from this to, it's like God, you know how much God wants you to be bored with him for 5 minutes in line at the grocery
Right.
store?
Yeah.
And you
Right.
don't have that at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you're uncomfortable and you just need, this is me to a T, like some comfort food, I feel like the Holy Spirit's like, I want so bad to be your source
Be
of
that
comfort right
comfort,
now.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
you keep running to this.
Yeah.
Taking medications because there's this heaviness that I feel. And God's going, I want so bad to give that some attention in your life
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Because I said the reason your drug is so powerful in your life is because it almost works.
Right.
And it's really hard to stop doing things that almost work. They get you right up to the glass where you can like see the version of yourself that's alive and free,
Yeah.
but you're not.
Yeah.
You're so close, but you're so far because you know the
Dude.
way to actually get there is not just the glass vanishes. There's a journey
Yeah.
of backtracking where
Yeah.
God's taking you through some valleys around, and there's some healing, and there's some processing, and there's pain to face
Yeah.
to get you over here.
Yep.
I've used a sermon story before about like Finding Dory, the second one where there's an aquarium in Northern California, and it's right on the edge of the ocean, and there's a whale shark and a beluga whale, and they're glass. One of the walls is glass, and it leads up to the ocean, and so they can get right up to the glass and see the ocean.
Oh man.
But it's not the ocean.
That's it.
It's not the real thing. It's some counterfeit version that feels so close, and it's really hard to stop doing things that almost work for you.
Yeah.
And that is like the insidious nature of even how our brains are wired, and our brains are not wired for the world that we currently live in. It is not normal to have, to quote Anna Lemke, which I did in the message a few times, an abundance,
Yeah.
an absolute abundance of drugs of choice
Yeah.
and different ways to dump dopamine into your brain. And when our brains are meant to sort of drip it, because it drives us with effort to go pursue the things that are going to be healthy for us. And when we get to those things and when we accomplish them, it rewards us with a little bit of like a dopamine surge that keeps us pursuing the things that are good for us. But now all we have is an overwhelming amount of ways to get dopamine dumps without any effort to get them.
Yep.
And that is the worst possible thing for the human brain. So much so, even sociologists and scientists right now are using like the natural selection terminology, and they're saying, this is no like, forget Christianity, forget God, just scientists and sociologists talking about the future and saying nature is going to select for those who have self-control.
Jeez.
That's the world we now live in, which, by the way,
Yeah.
the Red Rocks Worship album, I think I'm so proud of Emily and Corey and Tyler, the whole Red Rocks Worship team. I'm like, that album is so good.
Yeah.
And one of the songs used to be the song that I just never listened to. It's called What a Gift.
Yeah.
And I was always just the one I was like, well, I'm going to listen to the slappers, the heavy hitters. And but then at our worship night in Austin recently, I think it was Serena who sang What a Gift. And the bridge talks about the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control.
Yeah.
Let it overflow. And as soon as she was singing that, I was like, I've never heard a worship song sing about self-control.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that song has become my favorite worship song to listen to because of the season I'm in and because of our cultural moment and what we're faced with, where that is going to be the fruit of the Spirit. If you have self-control, the future belongs to you.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about the theme verse. It feels like in a lot of ways this year has been, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind.
Yeah.
And that root Greek word, sound mind, can also mean self-discipline, self-control.
Yes.
And it's kind of just like the Easter egg right there. Like, you want to have a sound mind, you need to have self-control.
Yeah.
Those two things go hand in hand. I felt like my biggest thing walking out of your sermon a few weeks ago when I was preparing to preach about pain, the problem of pain, I was listening to a pastor talking about pain is not the sinister thing in your faith, pleasure is. And it led me like on this journey that when I actually open myself up and I shut off the distractions and I go there with God, pain leads me to need more of him.
Yeah.
But like you said, pleasure just leads me to say, I need more of this.
Yes.
It leads me to something else that's not him.
And it never is enough.
And so
It's the song from Greatest Showman. Never enough.
yeah.
Yep. It's
is
never going to be enough.
Incredible,
All the
incredible
stars.
vocals in that
Yeah.
song.
Oh, so good.
But it's haunting
Yeah.
because you talked about, I think it was Andrew Huberman who said that it's the narrowing of the things that bring you joy
Until it's one thing.
until it's one thing. But then that's at some point not bringing you joy anymore.
It just keeps you from pain.
It's just your life is just avoidance at that point.
Exactly.
And we all do that.
So
in
the
our own
flip
ways.
side of the addicted life
Yeah.
is the abundant life. When I say addicted life, once again, we have to get out of our head that this is a podcast for those people who are addicts.
Yeah. No.
Those people are all people. We
Yeah.
all are in recovery for addiction in some
Yes.
way, shape, or
Right.
form.
Yes.
So the flip side of the addicted life is the abundant life, which I guess would be the gradual expanding
Yeah.
of things that bring you joy.
And may we as the church be the place that people can come and actually feel and experience their pain.
Yes.
And start to heal from it, no longer numb from it,
Yeah.
but to heal from it. And I feel like in my life, a lot of times I want to avoid all the pain because I want to excuse God from that.
Yeah.
Like get him off the hook, right? And
Yeah.
one of the biggest things I've learned this year is God did not ask us to get him off the hook for pain. He put himself on the hook.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So go meet him in the place of pressure. Go
Right.
meet him in the
Wow.
place of pain, and it will lead you to need more of him.
Yeah.
And that's what you modeled. That's what we need to model for
Yeah,
people
man.
is let's
Yeah.
go there and let's get better. Let's heal.
Yes.
Let's no longer let these things, even if they're normal parts of daily life that everyone else would say, you put boundaries around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's robbing from me. It's stealing from me. I want this abundant life and I'll do anything. I won't compromise for that, for myself, for my wife, for my kids, for you guys, for our church. I want to live a life like that. So
Yeah.
thank you for encouraging me because I'm also a pain
Yeah.
avoider.
Yeah,
But I needed
absolutely.
that so much.
It's our chronic avoidance of unhappiness. Our obsession with avoiding unhappiness is actually the reason we're unhappy.
Yeah.
Where sometimes the way to life to the full, more levels of alive and free, is into the pain and into the past trauma. And in fact, since we have Emily here as Kayla, Emily said a couple years ago, you mentioned about pain and joy existing in the same space.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you say that the way that you felt it, like even just really quick? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's good. It was actually you guys know Kylie, one of our friends, Kylie. It like sparked when I think it was right after I moved here, and then a lot of life has happened past that it's held deeper weight for. But I remember having dinner at Flower Child in the Domain with Kylie right after I'd moved here. And she kept being like, how do you like Austin? Like, how's it going? How's the new job and all this? And I was like, good, And she was like, but do you miss Denver? And I was like, yeah, but, like I kept trying to talk about all these things that were hard because like moving your life is hard. And I'd be
Right.
like, but, and she was like, okay, why can't you say and?
Like, I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah, like why
Yeah.
do those things
That's
have to
good.
cancel each other
Yeah.
out? Like why can't it be true that you missed that? You just left a bunch of friends and community you'd built for 4 years. And
Yeah.
now this is also fun and new.
Yeah.
And you're excited to be here.
Yeah,
Like
that's so
why
good.
can't
That's it.
those coexist?
It makes me
know?
think of
Yeah.
like if you could imagine like a graph where you picture like the x-axis and then it's like pleasure. Good feelings up here, and then pain and bad feelings are down here.
Yeah.
However high up you want to feel, you also have to be willing to feel equal parts pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what our drugs of choice do is they numb pain so you don't go into the
Totally.
valleys. But then what it does is also
that
just
down.
like this is just until you're more and more and more and more and more numb.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you numb feelings, I feel like you numb feelings. Like it, they all come from.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't get to
Exactly.
choose.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So yeah,
Man.
are you
Thank you,
are
Kayla.
you
Happy to be here for
are you
Kayla.
gutsy enough to feel all of it?
That's right.
You know, and that's why when we say alive and free,
Yeah, that's what we're going
That's
after.
not just good feelings all the time.
No.
This isn't a sermon series about how just to feel good always.
Right.
It's a series
Yeah.
about how to embrace and live in the freedom of everything
Yeah.
that the abundance of the life here and now, this side of forever,
Wow.
has
Yeah.
to offer you in Jesus.
And the guy who made that promise, who said that, didn't withhold this part
Either
from himself.
Either side.
He let himself have the full human experience and feel the worst pain that anyone's ever felt. And that's the root of where we find
Yeah.
the ability to be alive and free.
Yep. Depressing.
And that's why I think it brings new meaning to James chapter 1, where he says, consider it pure joy when you face trials, when you're facing pain. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
However, it does bring a lot of purpose because you know, even how your dopamine system is wired. If you are in pain right now and you are going through a season or even like, let's say a day where it's just there's pain,
Yeah.
what that means is there is this following
Yeah.
of there's more, like your brain is going to, by survival, it's going to balance that pain out with dopamine.
Yeah.
And if you don't waste the pain, it will make you more mature and complete on the other side of this, lacking less. More ability to walk in a world where you will have trouble
Yeah.
and experience
take heart.
and take heart and be alive and free.
Yeah.
That's so good, dude. Dude, the sermon was so empowering. That's how I walked out feeling. It's like this, everything we're talking about, there's an empowering aspect to it where you realize like, oh, I actually can decide to face this pain.
Right.
Oh, I actually can tonight, just for tonight, I am going to put my phone away, or I am going to put that thing away, or I am going to say no to that piece of pizza, or whatever it is. And every time you do that, it works in the opposite direction too, where you go, oh, I liked working out this morning.
Yeah.
I liked waking up early this morning. I liked having my quiet time
Yeah.
this morning. And I feel like what's coming, and I feel like you're going to be a huge leader in this in the next few years, is helping people realize and redeem self-control as a means to joy and as actually a phenomenal way to live.
Yeah.
Where you go, I actually really like doing no, I'm not gonna have that drink because I actually like how I feel and I don't have it better than how I feel when I do.
Yeah.
And so that's the word that is on my heart for
I
this
think-
podcast, is that empowering.
I think self-control equals freedom.
Yeah.
Self-control equals freedom.
Yeah.
And
To do what you want to do, what you need to do. It's like choosing, the ability to choose, Groeschel says, to choose what you want most more than what you want now.
wow.
What
Yeah.
you want. And that was Jesus in the garden.
Yeah.
Not my will, but yours.
Yeah.
What I want most more than what I want
That's
now.
good.
That's it.
If you can do that, that equals freedom. And it's the whole, almost embracing the decisions. If you make all the decisions where the pain is now, but the payoff comes exponentially later, you're going to walk in more and more freedom and the life that you actually dream about when you fantasize about
Yeah.
a different reality, because your real one is not living up to your expectations.
Yeah.
It's because we choose things where the little payoff is right now and there's exponential pain that doesn't come until later.
Yeah.
But if you can choose, this is what I want most over this is what I want now,
Wow.
Dang.
Dude.
that equals
good.
freedom. And so that, for that reason, What a Gift by Red Rocks Worship
Yep.
Yeah.
and Self-Control as the final one in all the list of the fruit of the Spirit that never gets airtime
never
and
talk
never
about
gets
it
talked
either.
about. But that might be, to quote scientists
Yeah.
and psychiatrists and sociologists, that last fruit of the Spirit in that list might just be the secret
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the future in our world.
Wow.
Here's my final afterthought.
Okay.
Hearing you guys just talk about that, I realized why This Is Us was such a massive show for so many people. because that show was the story of 3 siblings who didn't know how to deal with the pain of losing their dad.
Wow.
So one of them ran to food. One of them ran to just numbing through the party life, which turned into addiction. One of them ran to success. And we all see ourselves in them and watch them on this journey of trying to figure out how to deal with pain.
Yeah.
And just like your sermon, I feel like that show invited everybody in to be like, I'm kind of like that.
Yeah.
I'm prone to that.
Yeah, that's so
I don't
good.
like dealing with pain. And so I hope that, like that show, like your sermon, we can keep helping people. I always hope that this podcast is a friend to someone on their drive when they're struggling, when they have questions, when they feel far from God, or they're starting to be open to this idea of God, that this podcast is a friend to them on that run, on that walk, where they feel like, okay, there's some other people talking about this and I'm not alone.
Right.
And so thank you for opening that door in a huge way for a lot of us when it comes to our drugs of choice.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, we just passed 25 minutes, so we'll call it a day.
Oh, no.
Next week, so I'm going to be talking, I don't want to give it away, but I'm going to be talking about fear.
Well, you gave it away.
Oh, dang it.
Good, now I don't have to come.
Jacob, bleep that out. Talking about fear, which I'm really excited for. I think that we have a culture that lives in so much fear.
Oh, dude.
And it's the wrong fear. But there is a place for fear in our lives. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Can't wait.
And as always, I'm finding more and more that asking people to share and comment or any way, smash that like button. It gets this podcast in front of other people. We've had some of the shorts that Jacob's put out reach a ton of people, and some of them are trolls that just say horrible things, which is fine. I love that stuff, to be honest with you. But if this podcast is that friend to you, share it with other people.
Yeah.
Follow our TikTok and help us continue to invite people into this conversation. And go Buffs.
Go Buffs.
As we always say, go Buffs.